Yes, start now.
Yeah, you can.
Welcome back. Thank you. Waste management, COVID-19 challenges and solutions. I'm Rita Sharma, Associate Fellow TERI, and it's my pleasure to introduce the moderator of this webinar, Dr. Sunil Pandey, amongst us. Dr. Sunil Pandey is Senior Fellow and Director, Environment and Waste Management Division, TERI. In addition, he is adjunct faculty at the TERI School of Advanced Studies. He has more than 25 years of experience in consultancy, research experience in the areas of municipal, industrial, and hospital waste management, plastic waste management, waste to energy issues, impact assessment, air, water, and soil quality monitoring, site assessments, performance evaluation of ETP, and institutional strengthening and capacity building. Sir, over to you.
Very good morning to all of you. Very good afternoon to all of you. I'm sorry I could actually join only late because of heavy booking at the site. But now I'm there. So what I'll do, I'll keep introduction part very brief so that we get more time from our presenters. And I welcome all the speakers and participants to this webinar, which is on waste management under COVID-19 situation, opportunities and challenges. The webinar is supported by Envis Center, Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change, and I thank MOFCC for that. Without much ado, to begin with webinar session, I now invite Mr. Yashveer Singh, who is Economic Advisor with MOFCC, and has kindly consented to be part of this webinar. I'll ask him to provide an opening remark covering that.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Pandey. I'm very happy to be part of this webinar today on this important topic of biomedical waste. So briefly, I'll tell you about the ENVIS scheme, which the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has been implementing for the past more than 3 decades. It's one of the oldest schemes of the ministry. And recently in 2017-18, we have introduced 2 big and important initiatives within this scheme. I'll talk about one of them today, that is the Green Skill Development Program. We launched this program in 2017-18 with a view to fill the skill gaps in various fields, covering the subjects related to environment, climate change, biodiversity, and fortunately that there has been a very good response to our green skill courses, and we have around 25 courses which have been accredited by the National Development Agency, and one of the courses is on waste management, which comprises all kinds of waste, including biomedical waste. In the year 2018-19, we had trained more than 2,300 trainees under different courses at all locations across the country. And in the previous year, that is 2019-20, though we are still having the data flowing in due to the limitations we have in contacting all the centers on account of the lockdown. But as per the available information, we have more than 2,600 trainees who have successfully completed these courses. I would now like to thank the ENVIS Center at TERI for organizing this webinar, which is very timely. Reason being that with the current situation across the country and globally, the disposal of the biomedical waste has become very, very crucial and important for all of us. The probability of the infection spreading through the biomedical waste is no less than what we have been seeing or hearing or following in terms of the guidelines issued by the government to maintain social distancing, to sanitize ourselves and the places wherever we go, and also to ensure that everybody around us, including our family, our office people. If we visit the markets, then there also we have to ensure that all precautions are taken by each and every one of us. Without taking much time, I would like to just highlight that the ministry had released the solid waste management rules in 2016, which were revised after a gap of almost 16 years. And these revised waste management rules also include the biomedical waste rules. And very recently, the Central Pollution Control Board has issued guidelines under these rules for the safe disposal of the biomedical waste in view of the COVID pandemic, which is surrounding us at the moment. I'm looking forward to listening to the experts who are there on the panel and learn a little more about the ways and means for disposal of the biomedical waste. And I also hope that the big number of participants who are, though the numbers are quite restricted right now, who are watching this webinar to also actively participate and ask their queries and questions, whatever they have. And we'll be happy to reply to them or respond to their queries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yashvirji. It was very kind of you to give us some time and introducing NVIS and also introducing activities of ministry in the field of not only NVIS but also solid waste management. And as you all know, I mean, solid waste management is a difficult task in a big country, big and diverse country like India, and collection and processing always remains a challenge. We have come through interventions of Swachh Bharat Mission and through strict implementation of regulation. But has been now, I mean, this situation, unusual situation of COVID-19, when this waste management has become more challenging. And also there's a challenge on how to safeguard livelihood of people who are engaged in waste collection, waste storage, recycling. To discuss these issues, we have a powerful panel with us today. And what I'll do is one by one, as and when their presentations come, I'll introduce these speakers to you. And our first speaker for the session is Mr. Saurabh Manucha, who's a fellow with TERI and who has, he's an environmental engineer by profession and 15 years of experience in different waste management activities. And he has been also actively contributing on issues related to COVID-19 and waste management in cities. So I'll ask you to basically engage you for another 15 minutes for a presentation covering the challenges in MSW collection, municipal solid waste collection and recycling. Saurabh, your turn.
Very good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much. A very good afternoon to all. I'm thankful to Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change and the TERI NVIS Center for organizing this webinar and allowing us all to interact over this virtual platform. I'll be talking about waste management under COVID-19 scenario, particularly looking at the perspective of municipal solid waste management team, particularly collectors and managers. So firstly, I would like to brief you all very briefly on what is solid waste. So we all over here, most of us know what solid waste is. So anything that is solid, semi-solid, sanitary, commercial, institutional waste, markets, non-residential, sweeping, dairy waste. Particularly coming on, what are the three main constituents of solid waste? So solid waste from our regular municipal corporation areas constitute of biodegradable waste consisting of fruit, vegetables or kitchen waste. Non-biodegradable waste, we also call it as dry waste, which consists of paper, plastics, metal, glass. And the concern that we have today is household hazardous waste, which may be dangerous or may be toxic or flammable and cannot be disposed of with inorganic waste. So household hazardous waste include, as in COVID-19 situation, tissues, PPEs, syringes, medicines, gloves from quarantined persons or homes. It also includes certain spray bottles, metals, grease, other toxic elements. So as we all know that the waste management hierarchy focuses on 4 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle, recover, and dispose. And as in terms of general municipal waste management, we normally have to segregate waste and dispose of dry waste for material recovery facilities and wet waste for organic waste treatment units. Similarly, the domestic hazardous waste is to be collected separately for being disposed in a proper manner through treatment, storage, disposal facilities. This also includes biomedical waste, like in COVID-19, to be handled through common biomedical waste treatment facilities. So what are we seeing in COVID-19 as a challenge? So challenge is susceptibility of virus. A recent study that was published by the New England Journal of Medicine indicated that virus can stay on cardboards, in fact, metals and plastics, and the lifespan is somewhere around 1 to 3 days. Second thing is that COVID-19 recent study also showed that COVID-19 asymptomatic persons can be potential carriers and may cause transmission. So that means that we under lockdown are not even aware that how many of us are asymptomatic and may have or can have COVID symptoms in days to come. Third is chances of mixed waste handling. We have seen that the domestic hazardous waste collection in an isolated manner has not been very much successfully implemented in many of the cities. For example, when we audited Delhi last year, so in East Delhi, South and North, we found that 88%, 89% and even 95% households were handing over their domestic hazardous waste to general municipal waste only. So what has changed? There are Swachh Bharat Mission has issued advisory to ULBs. So it's an additional advisory that has been issued under lockdown period for maintaining cleanliness. Central Pollution Control Board has issued guidelines. The guidelines were issued in last week of March, then it was again revised on 18th of April by incorporating certain guidelines for wastewaters handling from healthcare facilities, as well as by having guidelines for our PPEs to be handled separately after 72 hours. So increasing quantities of biomedical waste is in Wuhan, it was 6 times during the peak of COVID outbreak compared to normal facilities. And some reports say that when we treat COVID-19 patients, they generate almost 15 times more waste compared to normal patients. So we can't say that how many more people are asymptomatic and might come up. So what are the challenges? Challenges are increasing quantities of domestic hazardous waste that we generate. Separate collection is a challenge which is not in place at the moment in many of the cities. Waste collection staff lack in PPEs or personal protective equipment, or we can say that regular supply of PPEs to these people is sometimes a challenge. Although Swachh Bharat Mission advisory is in place, which advises to hand over PPEs on per day basis. There is lack of training of sanitary staff to handle general waste discharged under COVID-19 pandemic, especially asymptomatic citizens. So our general sanitation workers are not aware what precautions they should take while handling even the general waste. On ground application of guidelines or among ULBs and contractual staff, or Swachh Bharat Mission advisory among ULBs and contractual staff is also lacking. Challenge is also that CPCB issued guidelines that the use masks and gloves generated from home quarantines or other households should be kept in paper bags for minimum 72 hours prior to disposal. Whereas there are also possibilities that transmission can occur through cardboard, plastics or steel. So there is no particularly guidelines in particular to any dry waste that we are generating. Awareness among public to segregate their wet and dry waste and domestic hazardous waste along with a system to segregate it or segregated collection could not be established overnight if it has not been in place in cities for so long. Next challenge is that few cities, there is an infrastructure mismatch. We see that there are certain conditions whereby we see manual loading of waste. So that indicates that there are chances of contamination. Waste processing and treatment plant operators suspect and endanger. They might be at risk while handling waste coming from these sites. So regular training of plant staff on handling infectious waste again is a challenge which has not been provided yet. With lockdown and risk in waste collection, informal recycling has almost stopped. So there is a concern that PPEs should also be given to the informal waste collectors who go out to collect waste. So how that will be done is again a challenge. Door-to-door collection has been compromised as on date to one-point collection in many localities due to lack of staff or informal waste collectors who usually used to go to collect door-to-door waste. Then vehicles, it has been issued that vehicles collecting COVID waste are required to be disinfected after every trip. But what about vehicles that carry general waste? So that is again a challenge, that vehicles that carry general waste might have picked up waste, dry waste, which had COVID, but the guidelines again is a challenge. Then again, monitoring, reviewing and verifying that systems are in place, not only with smart cities, but also with other towns and villages. This will avoid any unknown leakage of contaminants to environment. Challenge again is that PPE's appropriate usage as well as systems or guidelines how to remove these PPEs should be clearly indicated to the sanitary workers who use them. Social distancing at collection centers as well as treatment plants is also necessary to be maintained. As well as it now also has been highlighted that as per the CPCB guidelines, that wastewater treatment plant operators, even the drain silt cleaning staff, might be at risk if they don't have proper PPEs. So what should we do? What should we do as a general public, as a sanitary staff manager, or as processing facility operators? So if anybody is quarantined or is under this scenario, so what should they do? First of all, we should, if we are quarantined, we should keep our domestic hazardous waste separately in yellow bags provided by our urban local bodies. We should make sure that it does not leak and it is kept in separate bins out of reach of kids and pets. We should call our ULB, Solid Waste Management Cell, and identify arrangement for collecting this domestic hazardous waste. Although SBM, Swachh Bharat Mission advisory indicates that all dry and wet waste released from quarantine's home should be treated as biomedical waste. We should hand over this yellow bag containing biomedical waste to authorized waste collectors only. So ULB must have identified some people who will collect this yellow bag. So they are required to handle this yellow bag and take it to the designated deposition centers for household hazardous waste. In case there is a system to collect this yellow bag through a common biomedical waste treatment facility, so that should be undertaken, and you should contact such common biomedical treatment facilities to collect waste door to door. In case if you have any difficulties, you should immediately contact your urban local body officials. As a general public, we should not dispose mixed waste. We should don't dispose your dry waste the very same day you generate it. It can have infections. So you should try to keep your dry waste at least for 72 hours isolated, then hand it over to the waste collectors. You might unknowingly infect that person. So don't dispose your waste in nearby localities, water bodies or open plots. Even discourage somebody who does that in front of you. If you are a sanitary staff or you are engaged in managing sanitary staff, what are precautions for the sanitary staffs? First of all, PPEs should clearly be given, including masks, jacket, gloves, boots, glasses, and should be ensured that they are sanitized regularly. Proper 6 distance or whatever new guidelines come up through Arogya Setu app might be followed. Then ask your waste generators to let dry waste idle for 72 hours. In case they can't keep it idle, ask them to segregate it and give you segregated waste so that you don't come in direct contact with the waste. Remember that while taking off your PPEs, your hands should be away from eyes, nose and mouth, and you should wash them properly. Follow protocols for removing PPEs. If you feel sick, stay away from work and report immediately to your supervisors. Even vehicles and tools which you are using for your waste management should be sanitized through sodium hypochlorite solutions or any appropriate disinfectant after every trip to avoid any chance of contamination. What you should not do, like don't collect yellow bags, because there is a separate team for handling COVID-19 yellow bags. So identify the person who's responsible to do that. Make sure that no quarantine home is giving you waste. Don't touch your fleet or waste buckets with bare hands. It can have contamination. Always wear all PPEs, gloves. Don't mix dry and wet waste while collecting. Don't touch waste materials with bare hand. Even plastic, cardboard, and steels can have infection and transmit to you. Don't accept sanitary or biomedical waste in mixed form. It can be hazardous. Don't allow colleagues or waste generators to come close. Maintain a 6 feet distance. And also, don't carry your shoes inside your house when you go back, because normally when we don't have boots, we take our shoes at home, so they might carry also aerosols. So try to keep your shoes outside your home. Third, if you are a waste processing plant operator, you might be thinking of that how to retain your staff, how to make sure that nobody gets infected. So there are certain do's, like maintain separate records for collecting, treating, and disposing of different fractions of waste. Maintain a social distance. Provide adequate PPEs to your workers, including a 3-layer mask, splash-proof aprons or gowns, nitrile gloves, even gum boots and safety goggles. Make sure that all staff always wear appropriate PPEs, and whenever their PPEs are out of order, they should be replaced immediately. Train your staff every day and reiterate that importance of hygiene and appropriate handling of PPEs can only make them survive on the sites. Make sure that staff is well trained to dispose once to be used PPEs and sanitization and washing of reusable PPEs if there are. Make sure that staff knows how to get PPEs off without contaminating themselves, and provide appropriate sanitizers and washing facilities. Vehicles and tools should be sanitized with sodium hypochlorite or any disinfectant after every trip to avoid any chance of contamination. And you have to check that staff's body temperature daily. And in case if anybody shows any symptoms, you should just report and send him back. What you should not do. So don't allow any unauthorized person to come in your facility without appropriate PPEs. Don't allow to handle sanitary or biomedical waste mixed at any material recovery facility or organic waste management facilities. Don't allow any worker showing symptoms of illness to work at the facility. Don't allow staff to use mobile or wireless phones with bare hands without sanitization. They might have touched their devices with contaminated PPEs. Don't allow workers to take their shoes inside home again. They may carry virus. And don't accept any COVID-19 laden yellow bag waste with mixed waste. This can be harmful to all. So appropriately link such waste with common biomedical waste treatment facilities. Always remember that prevention is better than cure, and our focus today is on health. So although earlier it was on environment which was related to health, now it has been directly moved to health. Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you very much, Saurabh. This very succinct presentation on different aspects of municipal solid waste collection, transportation, and processing has to be carried out under COVID situation. I now hand over the mic to my colleague Rita. We have two opinion polls, one after this presentation and one after next presentation. So Rita would handle the first opinion poll, and then I'll come back again. Over to you, Rita.
Now we are displaying the polling question on your in your chat box. The question is, do you feel that with COVID-19 getting spread with even cardboards and plastic waste generated from quarantines homes as general waste, is sanitation work is danger? The first option is yes, second is no, and the third is unpredictable. So you have to choose any one of the option. All participants are requested to please tick any one of the option. Can you display the answer? So here is the result of polling question. Most of the people say yes for option A. 72% says yes.
Thank
Over
you.
to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Rita, for displaying the poll question and the trend with the participants. I now move to my next speaker of the panel of the session. Our next speaker is Dr. Shyamala Mani, who very recently retired as a professor from National Institute of Urban Affairs and who has decades of experience on working on waste management issues. And she not only has been practitioner on waste management, but also has been part of the different rules, waste management rules, especially biomedical waste management rule framing committee with MOEFCC, and has provided important inputs not only to the previous notification on biomedical waste management rule, but also the current notification, which was in 2016. I'm sure she would be able to satisfy your queries on how biomedical or healthcare waste has to be handled under COVID-19 situation. Over to you, Dr. Shyamala Mani.
Good afternoon to everyone. Am I audible to everybody? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I'm going to share the screen. Is that the right time? Is it the right time? So again, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much, Terry, and also NVIS from Ministry of Environment, Mr. Yashwir Singh, and also the various organizations who have logged in today, various persons who have joined our webinar today. So I'd like to begin by saying, I'm moving my down arrow. It's, can somebody help me? It doesn't seem to be moving. Can you see my screen? Hello?
Ma'am, we can see.
Audible? Yeah, but
we can
it's not,
see your screen.
Down arrow is not moving.
Ma'am, you might have to use your mouse to.
Okay, but no, it's not moving. Okay. Because I tried it just before the thing and it moved. Okay, so it moved now. So my second slide is just on what is the definition of biomedical waste. Most people, I think, who have logged in must be already knowing. This is just an extract from the Biomedical Waste Management Rules 2016. So basically, we are talking about the healthcare waste which is coming out of hospitals and healthcare establishments. And now in the COVID-19 situation, it's not only just the healthcare establishments, but it's also from the quarantine centers and also, specific dedicated hospitals which have been made now for the COVID-19, and including some quarantine homes. So when you see the actual rules, it says that these are the various categories. Like you can see that there is a yellow category, which is for incineration, red category, which is for autoclaving and microwaving, and white category, which is for sharps, especially metal sharps, without the plastics and all that. And the blue is for glass, whether it is a whole or broken glass. Now, my submission is that, of course, everybody is afraid in the current situation, but I would like to say that once we follow the categories properly, there is nothing to be afraid of, and there is no need to overwhelm the system, and there is no need to put everything into the yellow category and try to put everything into the incinerator. In fact, my humble submission is that autoclaving and microwaving and even chemical disinfection, especially after washing with detergent, etc., is just as effective. And some of these rules, biomedical waste rules, have been made with the idea that they are addressing infectious waste, which are even more virulent than COVID-19. Like we all know, more than anything else, the COVID-19 virus has got the danger of contagiousness, or rather through the aerosols, it goes onto the surface, and then because of the surface, we have to make sure that when we touch anything, we have to wash our hands, etc. But the virus itself is quite labile. It gets killed with soap and water for 20 seconds, and it gets killed with sodium hypochlorite with 1%. So if we follow the protocols properly, and if we make sure that the segregation is followed as per the biomedical waste rules, and the various items are put in whatever the categories are. Of course, you must wear the PPEs that already Saurabh has explained. But I would say that there's nothing to be scared about, and there is nothing to be so frightened that you overwhelm the system and put everything into the incinerator, because it has not proved that in any way that autoclaving is inferior. In fact, I would say that autoclaving is a much safer method rather than putting everything in the incinerator, because autoclaving is a much more sure shot method. Okay, so what we normally see is that general waste in hospitals is almost 70 to 80%, depending on the size of the hospital, and also what are the kind of activities they are dealing with, but this is in the general. And there is about 11 to 12% incinerable waste, about 12% autoclavable or microwavable waste, and about 7% which come under sharps, which have to be either sometimes autoclaved, sometimes dry heat sterilization, or sometimes chemical disinfection. So this is the pattern which has been followed in many of the common biomedical waste facilities. This particularly when I was in the Center for Environment Education, CEE, we made this for Gulbarga, which is the first common biomedical waste facility which we established. And CEE continues to run this plant till date. It has been run continuously for from 2005. And here you can see that the general waste is segregated, and it is sent to the municipal stream. And then the sharps are separated, segregated, either chemically disinfected or autoclaved, and then mutilated, and then sent for recycling. Infectious waste, excuse me. Infectious waste, here also you can see that there are two streams that continues to be so. And even now all the laboratory waste has to be separated, autoclaved, and then sent for incineration if at all. Or if incinerators are not available, then they can be sent for landfilling. Otherwise, the other anatomical waste as described in the rules in the Schedule 1 goes directly for incineration. The chemical waste also here, as you can see, the liquid waste has to be neutralized, and even the sewage, if there is a proper sewage treatment plant. Today, you know that all the state pollution control boards are insisting on both ETPs and STPs in big hospitals. So they have to be properly managed, and they have to be, especially the liquids which come out of laboratories and operation theaters, etc., have to be disinfected. Same way with infected plastics, except the blood bag, which has now been shifted to the yellow category. Other things have to be separated, put in red bags, autoclaved or microwaved, shredded, and then again they can either go for recycling or for landfilling. So this protocol should be followed, and they are being followed. And there are facilities like CHAMP, which is in Gulbarga, or Kalburgi, what you call it in Karnataka. They are following this also. So the status of biomedical waste management in India, you can see that there are a number of healthcare facilities, and out of which the bedded facilities, and with almost 20 lakh beds, bedded facilities are there. Currently, due to COVID, it is possible that many of the non-bedded facilities may or may not be working. But the biomedical waste, as of 2019, is about 559 tons. What I came to hear from various people whom I spoke to is that because of COVID-19, that it might have doubled or may have become 1.5 times more. But it is most of the common facilities have capacity for at least double the waste. In fact, when we were designing CHAMP also, we had designed it for 2.5 times. And then also there are captive facilities where the biomedical waste is treated in-house. So as of April 27th, as we see that the COVID-19 cases are increasing, but it is not at a very high rate as we have seen in some of the other countries. State-wise also, we find that there are, recovery is also happening in infected cases. But most of these states where it is showing high number of cases also are well equipped with common facilities. And what we need to do is to make sure that utilize the facilities properly and make sure that people follow the CPCB guidelines. The CPCB guidelines also tells you how the biomedical waste and the general waste and other waste, they need to be separated, because all three are there even in a healthcare facility, and whether it may be even a quarantine center. So the guidelines have to be followed in a proper way, and there's no need to overwhelm the system and put everything into the yellow bag. So these are the CPCB guidelines which have been updated till April 18th. And as you can see, for centers, laboratories, collection centers, laboratories, most important thing is appropriate color coded. Please note that it should be marked as COVID-19 waste, but it should be pre-treated as far as the various types of equipment which are used in the laboratories, no doubt. But at the same time, it should be taken in the same bags, and it should be stored separately in a temporary storage room. And then it should be treated in the proper way on priority. That is what the guidelines say. Here also you can see that in diagnosis and quarantine centers also, CPCB has said that, maintain proper records, alert the system, how much of COVID-19 wards are there. You should also have dedicated sanitation workers, like Saurabh has already pointed out. It should not be collected by the same workers who are collecting dry and wet waste, even in the communities. Quarantine centers and quarantined homes should have dedicated persons to collect who are wearing PPEs. You can also see that solid waste which are coming from general community should be treated as per the solid waste management rules. They are also very competent. They have also been made in such a way that they can address situations like this. So there is, of course, there is need to be very, very cautious and very, very particular about protocol, but there is nothing to be afraid of and overwhelming the system and putting everything into the incinerator, because that will only increase the amount of fomites, and you might end up having more problems than less. So here you can see all healthcare establishments have to be provided with proper PPE, disinfectants, thermal scanners, face shields, and training, and also continuous disinfection after the use. Also, I would like to acknowledge our Nisarg Foundation from Mumbai, Dr. Lata, who has provided me with some of these pictures. So as you can see, the mask has to be cut and then put in a paper bag and kept for 72 hours. The same way with gloves, wash it while you have it, probably sanitize it, I would say, while you're wearing it, remove it very carefully, keep it in the, cut it, and then you can keep it in the same paper bag and then discard it with other waste. Most important thing is that we have to make sure that personal in healthcare establishments, whether it's a waste worker or already the healthcare personnel themselves are following this particular protocol, that they don't overwhelm the system and they are using the PPEs in a rational way. So the same way we need to train the workers also how to put it on without infecting, how to take it off, and at the same time make sure that they are protected. These are some pictures from the CHAMP CPWTF at Gulbarga or Kalburgi. You can see that there's an incinerator, autoclaves, there's a wastewater treatment. In addition, there are solar water heaters, and there is also the metal sharps manager. There is also the chemical disinfection that goes on there, and also the storage for ash and deep burial in case of requirement. I would like to acknowledge Ms. Reema Banerjee, who sent me the pictures from CHAMP and how they are addressing the COVID-19 waste. As you can see here, they have been provided proper PPE. They have also been provided with proper vehicles and disinfecting method. I would like you to see this particular thing. They have advised all the hospitals to keep the COVID-19 waste separately. So this is a good idea. They put it in a cupboard which is on wheels. So it is kept separately, and therefore it's collected separately. Proper disinfection happens every time, after every trip. And this particular graph shows that in the northern region of Karnataka, CHAMP is processing almost 1/3 the waste, COVID waste. But in the whole state also, I think it is probably in the 3rd position for treating all the COVID waste. So it is possible to do it in a careful manner. And some of the important issues that I wanted to flag, because several of the people whom I spoke with who are working on the ground, they said that the main thing is that there is a possibility that the waste is increasing about 1.5 to 2 times. But at the same time, there are many bedded hospitals which have stopped functioning. And there are some additional centers, which are like the quarantine centers and homes which have joined. Therefore, the cost, it has to be somehow subsidized by the government or the state government or through some other mechanism, because this is definitely going to be an additional burden, especially in the way of cost, and especially because PPEs are involved, and people should be discouraged from reusing PPEs wherever it is not required. And therefore, it is very important in the light of safety for everybody that people, the cost of this is taken into consideration and properly budgeted. And the communities, of course, as you know, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs has given the advisory through Swachh Bharat Mission, through smart cities. But there are, of course, certain cases like this, where stigmatization is a very big issue. Therefore, waste workers and all the various people, they are so scared and they want to throw everything into the yellow bag. But as I said, the solid waste rules also says, like already Saurabh has told us, wet waste, dry waste, domestic hazardous waste, domestic healthcare waste. In fact, we've been telling the Ministry of Environment that SWM rules 2016, whenever it is revised, should make it specifically that it should have this healthcare waste and the domestic hazardous waste separated. Because if these are mixed up, even in today's situation, you cannot put the batteries and a diaper which has got feces from a COVID suspected patient into the incinerator. That's not possible. So please let us use this opportunity and make it a little more rational. And as you can see here, these are the guidelines the CPCB has issued that the urban local bodies have to identify specific people. And I was speaking to Ms. Reema, and she told me that in places like Kalburgi, I think you might remember that first death in India happened there. They started collecting from quarantine centers, and then they go along with the municipal vehicle, and so that the CBWTF operator collects only the biomedical waste or the home healthcare waste from the quarantine centers, and the municipal waste collector, they take the general waste. And so this is a good practice, and that can be followed in many places. And additional points that the CPCB has included on April 18th, as you can see, they fear that even the excreta in the diaper, and there might be some other issues which may have to go into the yellow bag, which is for incineration. However, if it is a bedpan, then it can be disinfected and washed with clean water. Again, collect the used PPEs, all the plastic ones and the semi-plastic ones in red bag for autoclaving or microwaving. Please note, not to overwhelm the system and put everything into the yellow bag. Food waste, general waste, not to be put into yellow bags. Used masks, diapers, N95, cap, shoe cover, disposal linen gowns, these can be put into the yellow bags. And again, additional clauses, home care facility. Also, again, it is kept for 72 hours, like Saurabh has already mentioned. You can keep the dry waste for a little time and then give it, as Professor Srinath Reddy, president of the PHFI, pointed out yesterday in one of the webinars. COVID-19 virus requires live cells to multiply. So please do not have so much fear, because it cannot multiply if you just put it in a waste bag, because there is no live cells there to multiply. After 72 hours or whatever the kind of material that you're using, it will die off. So please don't panic and create a situation where we will have so much waste that that itself might then start causing problems for controlling the infection. So I also like to acknowledge Ms. Veena Padmanabhan from Richmond Society in Gurugram, and two bin in one big bag, which they have made very clearly, and many such organizations in Gurugram. They have been educating the workers, and I would also like to say acknowledge Ms. Jyoti Mapsekar. Jyoti ji has always been an inspiration to all of us. They also work together with our Nisarg, and they are providing PPEs to all the various workers, waste workers, and informal waste workers also in Dharavi and many other places in Mumbai. So this is a case study of Green Bandhu in Gurugram. I acknowledge Saurabh Bardhan, and he has shown, I mean, they were all very scared, and the entire work came to a standstill. We discussed the points, and then we suggested certain things like absolutely no sanitary waste and biomedical waste to be collected by the waste workers. They have been provided PPEs, all these people, including Green Bandhu. There are other organizations which are working in Nirvana County, and several other organizations like even this daily dump and all that. Everybody, they are segregating the wet waste, they are composting, they are doing minor secondary segregation by just removing the plastics, etc. But absolutely no sanitary waste or biomedical waste at all. If anything is there, immediately that is transferred to the yellow bag. So it is possible to continue segregation. And here also the biggest challenge is segregation. People have to learn. This is a good opportunity. We should drive home the point, and we should request all our citizenry to participate. Cost is a very big thing. People, please donate wherever the small organizations are working. And also the government has to, please, this isn't going to be an extra burden on the entire system. Government has to budget for it. And from the Swachh Bharat mission or whichever mission it may be, please give adequate funds, and dedicated staff should be properly looked after. And their health checkups have to be done every 14 days, as the health workers are also being done. And stigmatization and ostracization should be removed. This is one of the things also has been discussed in PHFI also, where I am consulting, that how to get solidarity at the same time, work in a careful manner. So thank you very much. And if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shamla Mani. Yeah. For very clearly, succinctly putting up the issues related with biomedical waste at healthcare and quarantine facilities and all that. And also this must have cleared some of the myths which time to time people have regarding this, because this is a new pandemic. Not much information was available regarding this. So at times there's a lot of false information as well. So now, as I discussed earlier, I'll hand the session over to Rita again for the second opinion poll. After that, we'll move to the third presentation of the session. Rita.
Thank you, sir. We are now floating our second opinion poll question. Yes, here is the question. Please go to your chat box. Question is, as a citizen, do you consider there is a need for more awareness on waste segregation and management, particularly COVID-19 based? Option A is yes, option B is no. You can tick on any of the options. Now we are displaying the result. Again, 71% people says yes. Over to you, Sunil sir.
Thank you, Rita. And after the waste being discussed in very detail, we now move to third presentation of the session, which we already have discussed about use of personal protective equipment. And our third presenter, Mr. Akash Batra, who is chief mentor and coach with Sakhi Management Consulting Private Limited, and has immense experience in working in industrial environment, and has been engaging with industries on training them and coaching them. He would, in his presentation, discuss what has to be done about PPEs after use and how they need to be managed. So, Mr. Batra, I hand over it to you for the third presentation of the session. Mr. Batra, can you hear me?
Yeah, please.
Sure. Mr. Batra, all yours.
So my topic is personal protective equipment disposal. Although lot many points are already covered in the last presentation in terms of biomedical waste as PPE. So the agenda is we'll discuss bit biomedical waste management rules 2016, applicability of rules, terms definition, PP type, PP specification, and the PP disposal, how to handle all these points. So coming to like this PPE, biomedical waste management handling rule, when it comes to, it's applicable to all persons. When we say all person, either I am at home, or I am at a hospital, or I am running a nursing home, or I am having an animal house or pathological or blood bank or any other this kind of setup. So this biomedical waste management rule is applicable to all individual and at the same time to all hospital nursing home. It means if PPEs are generated even at the home level or at a different level, maybe hospital, nursing level, all this level, so that need to be handled as per biomedical waste management handling rules. So at present, coming to next point. So when it says the biomedical waste, although we discuss, so biomedical waste, when we say the biomedical waste is diagnosis, treatment, any waste which is being generated during the time of diagnosis, treatment, immunization of human being or animal research, or maybe some any kind of waste that is infection or maybe potentially infectious material. So either is having already infection, like in case of like COVID-19, or there is a potential that it may have, or it may be looking like a medical laboratory origin, like maybe some unused bandage, unused medicine, or maybe some infusion kits, any kind of, it looks like a medical product. So it means when we are talking of a biomedical waste, it means anything which is being generated during these processes, or any material which looks like maybe discarded medicine or maybe these kind of material. So authorization, when it comes to the authorization, because this is one of the element when it comes to the PP disposal. So when we say the authorization, authorization means कि anybody, if a permission is granted by the authority, which is the Pollution Control Board, for the generation, collection, reception, storage, transportation, treatment, and processing of these PP, or maybe we can say the biomedical waste. So it means all the hospital or all the places who have the authorization only then they can go for collection, reception, storage, transportation, treatment, and processing of this PP and the biomedical waste. When it comes to the authorized person, means an occupier or operator authorized by a prescribed authority to generate, collect, receive, store, or transport these material. So terms and definition, when it's in the COVID-19 is a novel coronavirus disease, positive agent is a SARS-CoV-2. And when it comes to the virus is like a piece of genetic material such as DNA or RNA surrounded by a protein. So let's come to the PP. When we say the PP is the personal protective equipment and protective gear designed to safeguard the health of a worker by minimizing the exposure to a biological agent. So it means what we are looking for in terms of whether we are wearing of PPE or use of this PPE or disposal of PPE, at every point there is a risk. So purpose is very simple. We have to minimize the risk so that at the time of maybe wearing or maybe doffing or maybe putting into the respective bag or maybe the collection or storage or transportation, anytime there is a chance of risk, the person who is in touch with them can be contaminated. So we have to ensure that at all these points there is a no contamination and the handling is safe and our PP is being disposed of in a right manner. So the purpose is very simple. The personal protective equipments or protective gear which prevent the worker by minimizing the exposure to a biological agent. So biological agent can be a bacteria, virus, fungi, and other elements. But at present, our key focus is on the virus, which is we are talking of COVID-19. So the main component that is being used as on date in handling the COVID-19 is a face shield and goggles, mask, gloves, coverall gowns, shoe cover, and head cover. So this is a face shield and goggle that we are using. Type of mask, we are using triple layer medical mask and N95 mask. We have a type of glove, that's the surgical gloves and the cotton gloves. Coverall gowns and maybe the normal gowns, and the shoe cover, and then we have a head cover. So these are the PP that is being used as on date for the protection of a health worker from the COVID-19. So when it comes to the specification, a bit a background of this PPE is just the gloves are bit made of this nitrile or latex, non-sterile or powder free. Shoe cover, head cover is the LDP or equivalent that the material is being used. And when it comes to the face shield, is the polycarbonate of face shield. And when it comes to the mask, is the PP between non-woven fabric, and there can be some other for N95. And coverall is the polyester or is a mix of polyester plus cotton. So these are the PP that is being used for the protection of the health worker. It means the gloves, shoe cover, head cover, face shield, mask, and coverall. So this is when it comes to the biomedical waste. So there are four kind of waste. There's the four color. There's the yellow, red, white, and the blue. So when it comes to the disposal of this PP, so we need to understand. So I have prepared this chart. When it comes to the donned of PP, maybe some mask, whether it's a triple layer mask and N95 mask, head cover, cap, shoe cover, disposable linen gown, non-plastic or semi-plastic overall. So they need to be put into the yellow categories and they need to be handled in like this only. And this is a non-chlorinated plastic autoclavable bag. But at present, there is a guidelines from the Central Pollution Control Board. They says just to prevent any leakage, we must use the double layered bag so that this is being leakage is prevented. So to dispose of these PPE, mask, head cover, shoe cover, we need to have a double layered yellow color bag, or maybe we need to put into the yellow container. Then it comes to the another PP that we are using is the eye protection goggles, face shield, splash proof apron, plastic coverall, hazmat suit, and nitrile gloves, and other recyclable material like plastic water bottle. Maybe plastic water bottle is being used by maybe the patients, maybe the COVID patient, is being used. So maybe by the quarantine people. So all these PPE should be put into the red category and should be put into the red bag list. So then the third category is the sharp waste, including metals. Is although when it comes to the PPE, so there's nothing comes which is using this metal, but this need to be used in the puncture, leak, tamper-proof container, and the color should be white. And another thing is like there is a glassware, tube light, and CFL. Suppose there is a quarantine facility, and over there we have to replace some LED or maybe some tube light or maybe some CFL. In that case, that may also be infected, so that need to be treated like that only. So for that, we need to put into this cardboard box with the blue colored marking blue, and the method is written for all kind of. For the yellow categories, we need to have incineration or plasma. Red categories, then is autoclaving, microwaving, hydroblading, then sent for recycling. White categories, auto or dry heat sterilization, and the blue is the disinfection or autoclaving, microwaving, and the hydroclaving, and then sent to this. So when it comes to the SOP, so these are the type of waste and the color coding of these waste. This is the one major element how to handle the PP for the disposal side. So what is the SOP? So once this discarded disposable item and infection waste in a biohazard bag or bins or a trolley, and the same color that we mentioned here. So the interior of bag that we are going to use, or a maybe bins or trolley, should be sprayed with the 1% sodium hypochlorite for the disinfection. And once this bag is tied up, is already, so this exterior is also should be discontaminated with 1% sodium hypochlorite. So it was generated. So once it is generated, it was collected. Then once it is collected and tied up, so this exterior should be disinfected with 1%, and exterior should be disinfected and should be marked with the COVID-19. The purpose of mentioning COVID-19 is very simple, so that it get priority, and the moment it reaches at the biomedical waste facility, it is treated at the earliest without any delay, and it should be handed over to the handled as per the authorization and the contractual requirement that we have a biomedical waste pickup agency, and at the same time the Center Pollution Control Guidelines, which is being discussed in the last presentation also. So once this material is ready, so these material to be kept separately in the temporary storage room prior to handing over to authorized staff. So this need to be kept in a prior to this. So other precautions that need to be handled while disposing this PPE, the key risk is the major risk is at the time of doffing. When we say doffing means when this health worker removes this PPE. So it means the moment this doffing is happening, it should be done at a designated area. So why we say it should be done as a designated area? Because maybe a health worker is removing mask or shoe cover or something else at a place where maybe hand wash facility is not available, maybe a disposal facility is not available, maybe the red color, yellow color, and that kind of bags, trolley or bins are not available. So the first point is that doffing, which is being done by the health worker, to be ensured to be take place at a designated area. When we say designated area, it means that designated area is having all color facility, sanitization facility, all procedures are available, and the doffing to be done as per the defined procedure. So what to be removed for? This has to be guidelines by internal doctors team and maybe Ministry of Health. So all PP to be put in a defined biohazard bag already kept in red, yellow, white, blue container. So this is the point number 1. When we say PP to be kept in respective color zone, it means once this doffing is done, is being removed by the health worker, then it need to be put into the respective color immediately. So, but when we're talking of maybe CFL and some other element, so in that case, that color bag or trolley or bin should be available in the quarantine facility only. So other ways by the patients or maintenance staff is the water bottle, soiled mask or medicine and food waste. These should be put into the food operating dustbin and having a right color coding. So maybe in the quarantine facility, there is a soiled mask which is being disposed of by the patient. Maybe there are water bottle, there are certain medicine, there is a food waste that is being disposed of. So these should be put food operating dustbin, which is a color coded and having a biohazard already in place. So take all necessary steps to ensure that the biomedical waste do not have any impact to the human health and environment. And once this material is this yellow bags and this red bag are being collected, so at the time of collection, the person who is handling should take care of this part, and this should be kept in a safe, ventilated and secured location, and with the proper tagging into this as per in a manner as specified in schedule 1. The purpose is very simple. The moment we store, there should not be a secondary handling, because what happens if it is kept in open, there are chances of leakage and maybe scattered, maybe a animal bite. So just to prevent that, there no secondary handling, pilferage or recyclable inadvertent scattering or spillage by animal, this should be kept in a lock-in area. And from this lock-in area, it should be transported directly to this biomedical waste treatment facility. So solid waste material should not be mixed with the biomedical waste. That has to be handled as per the solid waste management handling rule. So just to other precaution, training to healthcare worker, immunization and barcoding system or all this biomedical waste, especially we are talking of PP, and designate a person who is monitoring these activities. So just to prevent these points, we have to make sure there is a regular awareness to the people. There is a regular training to the people. Signages are displayed throughout the setup. There is a regular internal audit just to make sure that all procedures, maybe doffing procedure, collection procedure, storage procedure, handling procedure, tied up procedure, maybe disinfection procedure, storing at a secondary place, that's procedure, and maybe handing over to the waste management facility. All these procedures are followed in a right manner, so that regular internal audit should be done. And the next point is if there is an incident, maybe there is an incident of spillage, maybe a material that was supposed to be kept in yellow was put into a red bin, or maybe at some place there is no facility available for this red bin or yellow bin. So all these incidents to be reported and action to be presented to the management, and the management should take care of this immediately, so that there is an improvement on an immediately basis, because audit is going to help us in a big way. So other precaution that we discussed, all biomedical waste transportation vehicle should comply with the marking, and it should meet the Central Pollution Control Board, State Pollution Control Board and Motor Vehicle Act requirement. Labeling should be all that this is a label, and the label must have the COVID-19 in place and with proper marking on this. So these are the points that we discussed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Batra, for making a very detailed presentation on use of PPEs and how those PPEs need to be managed after, and what are the precautions to be taken, removing them and managing them. So I now open the session to question and answers, and questions answers have been posted on chat, and depending on the issues and also the speaker to which they are directed, I'll ask each of the presenters to direct it to me or to the participants, and then we'll formally close the session. So how do we handle the question answers? Rita, any idea?
Audio is a bit weak. I'm not able to hear.
I have just forwarded the list of questions at your email.
Hello. I think
Yeah.
email probably will take time to come. If you can share the same on screen.
Yes, sir. Okay. I will share the Word file.
Yeah, sure. So I think your yeah, now it is visible. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
So you'll have to scroll it.
Yes, sir.
There's a question: waste workers working in compost plants at high risk. How can we take care? One is the waste worker working at compost plants at high risk, and I'll quickly run through questions, and then specific speakers can come back on these questions. How can we take care of municipal solid waste sewage, which is directly linked to main sewer line? How to reduce quantity of plastic waste generated without compromising the safety of health workers? Sewage coming from quarantine center homes. Precautions to be taken during disposal of STP sludge. An awareness program on COVID-19. Especially, I mean, not many people know that there is a CPCB guideline for managing waste generated from healthcare facilities during COVID-19 period. And how can a triple layered mask be washed with soap and used again? Should it be used again? What is meant by daffling? Mr. Batra used a term called daffling in his presentation, or doffling in his presentation. And is there a good IEC video either by ICMR or Ministry of Health and Family Welfare or AIMS? So these questions I'll open to my panel speakers, and I'll start with Saurabh and then move in the same order. Saurabh, there are questions regarding composting plants, how waste has to be processed, how waste has to be sewage and wastewater treatment systems have to be managed, and sewage sludge to be managed.
Yeah, thank you, sir. The question is quite valid, and we try to answer that. Yes, the people who are managing treatment plants, especially composting plants, as well as material recovery facilities, might face challenges with dry waste or plastic metals having COVID virus onto it. So they have to be very careful. They have to provide proper PPEs. They have to provide proper monitoring as well as social distancing norms in their plants, and oversee that their plants are operating well and they are getting segregated waste as far as possible. So that is required. The next question that addresses towards the wastewater thing. So CPCB has issued guidelines for the operators of primarily the healthcare facility sewage treatment plants, or the primary sewage treatment plants coming from or getting water from quarantine areas. So they'll have to take all precautions. They'll have to prepare to use all PPEs that they have been directed to use as STP operators. So that's the precaution, and they have to stay away from getting contaminated through that sewage or sludges. Regarding disposal of sludges at the disposal site, so there is a very good ISWA video, as well as the International Solid Waste Association has also issued some guidelines onto it, that how to dispose sludges, or how to dispose COVID-19 leaden waste in the landfills itself. So probably that can help how the waste is getting isolated. There is a very clear-cut video onto that, as well as a presentation showcasing that what norms are to be followed while you are bringing in COVID waste if there is no incineration plant, particularly on sanitary landfills. I hope that answers to the queries that were raised.
If there's anything remaining, maybe Elvis Center can reach the participants by mail if there are any questions left. Next, Dr. Shamla Mani, mostly regarding IEC information available on government sources which can provide more information, and also, I mean, any myth if they have regarding corona. Dr. Shamla, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Sure. Your voice is a little faint, so probably you'll have to come closer to speaker.
Any better? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yeah, better now. Better now.
Okay. So I was saying that regarding putting the PPE, there are, especially from Ministry of Housing and I'm sorry, Ministry of Health and Family, and also.
The voice is very faint again.
Actually, I'm holding the mic right very close to my mouth.
Okay.
Hear me? Is it better? Am I audible?
No, I don't know, because at the time of presentation it was good sound volume. If the overall volume has been reduced, try checking that.
No, has it been reduced? Can you hear me? I'm now directly.
Yeah,
can you hear me now? Is it better? Is it better?
Better now.
Better now? Okay.
Yeah,
So I was saying that IEC material for putting on PPE, removing, and also hand washing, there are in the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare's website. Also, a lot of IEC has been prepared by different healthcare organizations. Regarding the hospital waste management, Public Health Foundation of India, Center for Environmental Health, we have already prepared all the posters, which can be put as a digital also. It is now being approved by the MOEFCC. It is with them, and once they endorse it, we shall be distributing it. So lots of efforts are being made for making the correct type of IEC, and also for solid waste management. There's a lot of information available in the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. All the Swachh Bharat material is there. They have also issued advisories, the COVID, how to manage during COVID time, and like Saurabh already pointed out, the PPE for a worker, sanitary worker, whether he is informal or formal, in the handling of the sewage, not only during the sewage, and also at the sewerage points, where the manholes are there, also at the sewage treatment plants. It has already been stressed quite a bit that even during non-COVID times, these people have to wear proper personal protective equipment. Unfortunately, this is not being adhered to. This is a good opportunity that it is now emphasized. There are many more bacteria and viruses in the sewage which are equally harmful. And every time a person gets into a manhole or handles any kind of sewage or sewage sludge without personal protective equipment, they are exposing themselves to deadly microorganisms. So since this is a good situation and there is a lot of awareness, I request that all state pollution control boards might the ULBs, that such personal protective equipment have to be provided for people. Otherwise, the sewage going into the general wastewater treatment plants is quite okay. There is no particular evidence that it is through that it is becoming any community hazard. It is only by contagiousness, it is by touch, it is by surfaces. So if that is adhered to and proper PPEs are being used, there is no really danger to the community. So I would say that IEC materials are available and they will become available very soon.
Thank you, Dr. Shamla. And with the Envis Center, we'll send you link for the IC materials which are available on public domain, also on government sites. With Mr. Batra, I'll ask a quick question on, there's a question on this triple layered mask to be washed and reused. So what is your take on that, Mr. Batra?
When we actually see this triple layer mask, so it actually all depends upon कि it should not be soiled. If there is a moisture at the back of it, and still actually we are using it, so there are chances it's not actually at that time it's a saving. Actually, it's a rather creating more risk to us. So it should be actually dried, and the ideal condition is the preferred good practice is it should be, once it is used, it should be disposed of. It should not be reused, triple layered mask.
Thank you, Mr. Batra. I'm sorry, we have really overshot the time allocated to us.
And there was one more question regarding doffing also.
Yes. Important question.
Doffing is a process. It's a PP removal process by the health worker is called doffing, and PP wearing process is called a donning process. So doffing is a process that is the time where actually a health worker gets infected. Doffing. So what PP should be removed first, and in what sequence and in what way this PP should be removed so that there is no infection. Suppose a person is wearing a head cover also, a shoe cover also, a coverall gown also, face shield also, and the goggles. So what should be the first piece that to be removed? Maybe it's a remove the shoe cover is removed, is put into the respective yellow, red color dustbin. Then there has to be a sanitization, hand wash. Then taking your hand at the back end, removing the gown, and the opening the gown in a reverse order so that it's outside portion of gown comes inside, and you wrap it and then put into a respective, maybe for the, if it has to rewash, then to be put in a respective bin, or if it has to dispose of in that way. So that is the point. Then again hand washing it, then again removing the face shield and washing it, then how to remove this triple layer mask. So all this process, because that is the time where the health workers get infected the mostly. And the donning is a process whereby if it is not weared in a right manner, so again there are chances of infection if it's not. So the doffing and donning process is a very critical process for the healthcare protection, health worker protection.
Interesting. So I'll be happy if you can, if you have a video which we can share at some point of time with the participants of doffing and donning process.
Share some link to you. That's what we share with you. You can share with the participants.
Sure. With this, I'd like to thank all the participants and also our eminent speakers and also Mr. Yashveer Singh and MOEFCC to provide permission for us to have this webinar with the participants. It was very interesting and very learning experience. And what we'll do is, whatever questions we couldn't take up in this limited time, I'll request Envy Center to collate them, and I'll ask the experts to respond to them at a later date through mail. And with that, thank you so much, everyone, and thank you so much, the participants. I'll formally close the session here. Thank you so much for your valuable time again.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thanks everyone from Terry.